3, 2, 1, and all right, my friends, I just pressed the let's go live button. So let's wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the internet before we go ahead and get started. It is a jam-packed Monday. We have a lot to attend to. And I know that our friend Eric Hunley had some breaking news over with Viva, so we don't know what exactly was going on over there. But when you're done with this stream, go over there and figure it out. But in addition to all of that, we've got a whole bunch of other stuff to attend to. And are we live? Are we live? I think we are. Let's get to it already. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun deep in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. And today, my friends, we are talking about immunity. We're talking about impeachment. We've got a lot of investigations to attend to. In fact, we've got 5 full segments in the show today, queued up, ready to rock and roll. We're going to go through a Trump speech. He, over the weekend, dug up something that is going to be a part of this election campaign, which is going to be this massive double standard that is going to just be skewered into the Democratic Party peacefully and politically over and over and over into this election, which of course is the Hunter Biden text messages, the laptop, and the entire Biden crime family shenanigans that we all know now is accurate, legitimate, and not Russian disinformation. Trump read the whole thing. We'll go through it, and then we'll check in with the indictment updates because apparently Jack Smith, the special counsel, is granting away immunity deals on the J6 investigation, which is taking place, as we know, out of D.C., and we fully expect a second federal indictment to come out of there. But Trump says, you know what? No problem at all. These indictments, they're a badge of honor, baby. What do I care? So we'll go through all of that. Then we've got a pretty sizable update today, a pretty fun update in the Trump trial. Now, we did an update today for our members this morning where we really spent more time on one of these motions, but we got a ruling on one of these motions, which is denied. So something happened where the government wanted to limit Trump's witnesses or limit the people he could contact. As long as they were on the government witness list, they said they were off limits for Trump. The judge came out today and denied that. And it's a juicy order, not in paper, paperless order, basically saying, what the heck are we doing? What are we, 84 witnesses? What are you talking about? So we'll break that down. Then we're going to talk about this continuance because the judge is going to have to issue another ruling which comes to trial timing. This one we didn't get an order on because Trump's team still has an opportunity to respond, but we will see what the government is asking for. And they submitted a bunch of stuff. Jay Bratt, the prosecutor, submitted a declaration saying this is why we really need this continuance, this trial postponement, and they've got a proposed schedule as well that we'll look at so we can start to piece together what the rest of the year looks like because we've got, elections coming up very soon. Then we'll turn our attention to the reaction from the White House to this Biden IRS whistleblower problem that they've got, and it's coming in hot for them. The press really had a problematic conversation with Karine Jean-Pierre last week on Friday. And she came out there, she's like, it's Friday, nobody's going to ask me any questions. Guess what? They did for about 4 minutes. And so they were just peppering her with these questions, and she didn't like it at all. You know who else didn't like it? John Kirby. He actually walked out of the room. All right, so that's basically where we're going with the Biden administration. There's rumors that Biden lawyered up Marjorie Taylor Greene, and another representative said that. We don't know if it's true or not, but that is the rumor. Biden also was asked, did you lie? And so we'll see what his answer was on that one. Klobuchar had a very fun interview. She got a little bit awkward there. She was like, well, no, Joe Biden's amazing, until she had to answer a question about Joe Biden's son. The View was literally crying on air. Joe loves Hunter. Oh, Republicans are mean. They don't love their sons or something. I don't know. And then we had another really, really important question for Karine, which was, has anybody at the White House told Hunter Biden to stop doing the things? Like, has anybody asked him to stop? Like, we're not asking whether he did this, but has anybody just said, look, we don't know if you did it or not, but have you just told him to stop? Or is he still making these phone calls? What the heck's going on over there? So we'll see what Karine says in response to that. It seems like an obvious question, but it's like nobody ever asked about it. It's like, Well, did you check if the switch is on? Like, why isn't this working? Like, well, was the switch on? And oh, duh, I got to flip the switch and the whole light turns on, out of that scene, out of that Christmas movie. So here's another one about McCarthy saying that he promises this time we're going to have some real consequences for the Department of Justice. We'll see. But McCarthy says that there is going to be an impeachment inquiry if the whistleblower allegations are true. And we've got Merrick Garland responding to the whistleblower saying that, no, I mean, how dare you even allege that the DOJ might not be absolutely fair and impartial. And there was another witness response, or the response from the whistleblower is implicating 6 other witnesses saying, no, it's not just us. There's 6 other people in the room, and I got it all documented. So we'll go through all of that. McCarthy says, no, I swear, though, guys. I swear, man, I promise you, this time we're going to go after the DOJ. But we are getting closer. Inch by inch is a cinch. Yard by yard is hard. Little wins, we'll take them. So we'll go through that. And then Karine got asked about that issue as well. And then lastly, to wrap it up, we have Jim Jordan, who is now demanding answers, some further depth into exactly what happened with this whistleblower saga. He sent a letter over to David Weiss, the U.S. attorney who is in charge of the Biden investigation. And he wants to know. He says, hey, the whistleblowers came out and they say that you didn't have authority to bring charges in D.C. You didn't have authority to bring charges in California. What say you, David? So we'll see what he has to say. And Jordan's also calling out Lesley Wolf, which I think is very appropriate because we spent a lot of time talking about her last week. She was kind of the mole at the DOJ who was really responsible for a lot of the undermining of the investigation as it took place. So we've got that. We've got Jason Smith, who is on the House Ways and Means Committee, which is the perfect committee for him to be on. Once you hear him, you'll go, oh yeah, Ways and Means, it's all like tax and accounting work. Oh, perfect. So shout out to Jason Smith on the right committee. We also have Byron Donalds, who is talking about a very interesting little caveat here. And Byron Donalds is a very astute individual. He's got some great observations out there. He says, everybody's upset about Trump and Trump obstructing my justice and so on. He goes, what the hell was Lesley Wolf doing at the DOJ? What was Merrick Garland doing at the DOJ? What were all these different people doing over there, if not obstructing justice? So you want to play this game, buddy boy, we can play it. And so Byron Donalds is out in full effect. And then we've got James Comer, who says, look, we got just more stuff coming in, more wires, more evidence of Biden criminality, all coming up today. And as you can see, my friends, it is a lot to get to. Woo, we got 5 whopper segments, and it's a busy Monday. We're excited to attend to it. We are grateful that you are here. And I want to invite you to be a part of our amazing community. If you'd like to join us, we do member-only streams, and after this program, we'll do a members-only after party. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com is the place where you can join us over there. We do additional Trump docket updates. I really think this is one of the most historic kind of epochs in criminal history that he's being prosecuted here. So we're going through it with a very fine-tooth comb. And if you'd like to join us, watchingthewatchers.locals.com, great place to do it. Also, you can become a member on YouTube and come and join us. And it's a lot of fun. You get a lot of the same stuff. But to join us on the after party, you will have to go to Telegram and grab a copy of the Telegram link. And so, my friends, I want to share with you a little bit about our friends over at Field of Greens. But first, I have to share with you about these puppies. All right, these are some puppies that we've got at Mama Govea's house. Look at these things. Look at these puppies, man. And we got some homes. We're trying to find some good homes for them. There's 5 puppies left. 5 puppies left that Mama Govea is trying to find homes for. And so these are, I guess officially they're called golden doodles? Gosh, I don't know. So if you are interested, theoretically, in homing one of these nice little fellas, I gave it some consideration. Unfortunately, this is at the Mama Govea household. I was just there last night. Unfortunately, your boy's not going to be able to be taking one of these nice little fellas. But if you would like to take one, then you can contact Mama Govea at Marianne at Eric's house ericshouse.org. Let me put that here. I forgot to add it to the mind map. Marianne at ericshouse.org. There are 5 left. I told my mama I was going to plug it on the show today. So if you'd like a puppy, Marianne at ericshouse.org. Send a message over there. And if you have any problems with that, you can send me an email too. Robert at spotlightlawyer.com if you are interested in puppies. And so they're a lot of fun. Don't eat them. Sam says, I eat puppies. Do not eat the puppies. They're not for human consumption. No. What do they taste like, says Bendover. No. No. Labradoodle? I don't know what they are. I don't know. They're cute as crap. So that's all I can tell you. Don't eat them. All right. And so, my friends, now let's get into the show on the day. Before we get to it, let's make sure we're healthy and fortified, courtesy of our friends at fieldofgreens.com. Now, we all would like to lose those leftover pandemic pounds. But how sick are you of all the ads for weight loss pills and fad diets and all of that stuff? We've all been there. We've all done that, and they just don't work. But you know what does? Eating 5 healthy servings of fruits and vegetables every day. Fruits and vegetables, not puppies. Do that, and the weight would probably just fall right off. But vegetables, not a fan. And fruit, who's got time to prepare that every day? I don't. Instead, let's talk about Field of Greens. Now, Field of Greens is a science-backed formula. Very specific fruits and vegetables that you won't find in any other product. Proper nutrition reboots your metabolism so you can burn calories faster and lose weight the healthier way. And Field of Greens is the only brand backed by a better health promise. Yes, you'll look and you'll feel healthier fast, but the greater proof comes at your next checkup when your doctor says, wow, you've lost weight. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. And so let's get you started. Go on over to fieldofgreens.com. Don't forget to enter code Robert when you check out, so you can save 15%. Code Robert at checkout, save 15%. The vegetables want to be eaten. You'll be bursting with green energy, the good kind, thanks to our friends at fieldofgreens.com. Don't forget to use code Robert. All right. Now let's get to the meat and potatoes today, my friends, because we've got a lot of business in store. Donald Trump gives us a taste of what the election season is going to look like as it continues to heat up. We noticed that there's a little bit of a double standard here. Trump seems to be being prosecuted here out of 2 different jurisdictions, what I think is going to be 4 very soon. And other people are entering plea deals for basically nothing. Hunter Biden has a 2 misdemeanor plea deal where the felony charge is going to be dismissed ultimately due to diversion. So as we hear Joe Biden scream and shout about my guns and gun regulation and gun crimes, Hunter Biden literally committed one. He's taking a plea deal for it. So he is getting a sweetheart deal. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is being castigated everywhere he goes. And so as this election heats up and as more and more evidence comes out about the Biden crime family, something very interesting is going to happen. Every time Trump speaks, he's going to have new evidence with which to skewer the Biden political campaign with. And the question is how long is the Biden administration going to endure this? Are they going to throw Joe Biden by the wayside? We've already heard him talking a lot about how amazing Kamala is and the vice president and a lot of this language recently, as Joe continues to lose his capacity. Or is Newsom waiting in the wings? We don't know. But NBC and other media entities are now showing that even large parts of the Democratic Party have questions about Joe. Here is Trump reading Hunter's text message that Hunter said he sent with his dad, Joe Biden, sitting in the room.
Joe Biden is the most corrupt president in the history of our country by far.
That's
true. Just 2 days ago, a very respected IRS whistleblower, used to be very much, you remember when the Democrats used to love whistleblowers? They don't like the whistleblowers now. Revealed that Crooked Joe sat in a room while his son Hunter messaged a Chinese Communist Party official and said to this Chinese Party official, I quote, I am sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. This is cash he's talking about. Yeah. Tell the director, and it doesn't get reported in the newspapers.
Money.
Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand. And now means right now. It means tonight.
Whew.
You believe this? I didn't know he was that tough.
Yeah, he's tough.
And if I get a call or a text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me, my father, right next to me, Pop, hi Pop, and every person he knows, you will regret not following my direction. Now, can you imagine the newspapers not reporting this? Not a word of it in any of them, mainstream. I'm sitting here waiting for the call, he said, with my father. I'm sitting here with my father waiting for the call. In other words, send us money. Within 10 days, the Bidens got $5.1 million from China for absolutely no reason. They got $5.1 million.
Digging out those receipts.
In fact, they've taken tens of millions of dollars from China. And that's probably why maybe he's not complaining about the fact that they're building military bases in Cuba. Maybe that's the reason, I guess. Mike, what do you think?
Hi, Pop, says Trump. Good to see everybody. That is Hunter Biden saying, hey, China, we need some serious payments or else there's going to be consequences for you. Do you know who my daddy is? And Trump's actually amused that Hunter Biden is so tough. I mean, that is a pretty big text messages he sent. A lot of bravado for him. But while that goes without any real serious review from our Department of Justice, the same DOJ, the same FBI, the same Homeland Security, all the people who tell us day after day, there's only one standard of law and it's applied equally to everybody in America. No, not really. Trump is being prosecuted for library book crimes that were much less serious than anything Hillary Clinton did, or Joe Biden did, by the way. And he is being skewered while Hunter Biden is able to, I guess, go to state dinners and hang out with Joe Biden on Air Force One. So the special counsel, which is special in that it is working directly for the DOJ and doing their bidding, there is an exclusive on this one from CNN. They tell us the following, that the special counsel is now trading immunity deals for fake elector testimony as the January 6th probe heats up. We've long speculated that there will be a second indictment coming out of DC. And they are just waiting for the right time to drop it. And I actually thought it was be coming soon. Bill Barr said he thought it would be coming this summer. We are now into summer. So we'll see if it comes soon. And it makes a lot of sense for them to drop it right on the back of this continuous drip, drip, drip of bad Biden news. Special counsel, according to CNN, Jack Smith has compelled at least 2 Republican fake electors to testify to a federal grand jury in recent weeks by giving them limited immunity. Part of a current push by federal prosecutors to swiftly nail down evidence in the sprawling criminal investigation into 2020 and the efforts to overturn the election, is what they say. Now, for a long time, right, my position on this has been that there is a legal basis in this country to question the election laws. You're allowed to do that. They reframe that as saying that is their efforts to overturn it. Now, if there's more evidence here that they said disregard the law, and come up with a different theory and seize power anyways and don't leave office and all of that, right? That's a whole separate story. We haven't seen any evidence of that. The testimony described to CNN by people familiar with the situation comes after a year of relative dormancy around the fake electors portion of this investigation. The activity could signal that investigators are nearing at least some charging decision in parts of the 2020 election probe. Probably any day now. It also comes just as the special counsel's office filed charges against former President Trump. Prosecutors initially obtained documents and interviews last spring from many Republicans who signed the false certificates to the federal government, asserting that they were the rightful electors for Trump in 7 battleground states won by Joe Biden. Prosecutors have played hardball with some of the witnesses in recent weeks, refusing to grant extensions to a grand jury and demanding they comply before the end of the month. In situations where prosecutors have given witness immunity, the special counsel's office arrived at the courthouse in Washington ready to compel their testimony after they indicated they would decline under the Fifth Amendment rights. So it's always amazing that CNN, where do these leaks keep coming from? They just keep coming out of everywhere. Remember that there was a protective order issued in the Florida case that involves Trump, that if he leaks anything, if he even so much as takes his notes out of the attorney's office, he's in violation of that protective order. He can't talk to the media. He can't do anything. But CNN and Washington Post and New York Times, they keep leaking this stuff. And it is rotten for them to do it. It's an unfair advantage. They get to craft the narrative. This is long-term jury tampering, witness tampering, right? I mean, without getting as specific, but they're leaking damaging information to craft the media narrative so that their side wins. And if Trump does anything even remotely close to this, he gets held in contempt of court. At least one other witness has spoken. Look, they know everything. At least one other witness has spoken to investigators in the past 2 weeks, unless they're speaking to the witnesses. I mean, I guess the witnesses could have contacted them and said, hey, CNN, guess what? At least half a dozen witnesses have testified before the federal grand jury in Washington over 4 days, with many of the sessions focused on the fake electors plot. So we're probably going to see all of that. We're going to see all of these different signatures and different people who might come in and say, no, they actually literally were trying to fraudulently fabricate alternative electoral documents. And that will be another defrauding charge. The numbers, profile of witnesses, and prosecutor tactics suggest the probe is picking up its pace, and they're getting familiar with more of this. Lawyers are responding in turn, and so you can see things are escalating pretty quickly, and I got to imagine it happens soon. They want to get these trials done before the election because they want to prosecute him and put him in custody so that or orchestrate a deal with him, saying, we'll give you a very beneficial plea deal as long as you promise never to run for president again. Go sit aside. And if you've got 4 open criminal indictments going against you, the odds are not good. That is a lot of pressure to bear for anybody. That's why we've often said that Trump, his biggest defense is winning the presidency. And here he says that an indictment is just another notch on the belt. It's a sign of victory.
Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of courage. I'm being indicted for you, and I believe the you is more than 200 million people that love our country. They're out there, and they love our country.
We are out there.
This is a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time, which has been fully exposed in the Durham report, the IG report by Inspector General Horowitz did a great job on that report, and by great writers, journalists, and pundits all over the world. And its primary purpose is exactly that, election interference. They want to interfere with the upcoming election.
They want to do it. If they can give a plea deal to Trump whereby he resigns or withdraws from the race, or if they can actually convict him and prevent him from leaving custody, even if they just limit his capability to travel or something. I know it sounds crazy, my friends. I know it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy coming out of my mouth. To think that a DC judge, one of the lights just went out in here. Why'd all the lights just go out? The heck? All right, well, all the lights behind me just went out, so we'll just carry on. Everything just went dead. All right, so what the heck was I talking about? All right, I don't know. Anyways, the prosecution against Donald Trump is going to continue. I think that they want him sidelined. I was saying it sounds crazy for him to be arrested and not let out of custody, to have the entire election season be with Trump being prosecuted from pretrial detention, or being limited with an ankle monitor, or not being allowed to leave Florida, or being confined on home detention. I know it sounds nuts, but we also thought that it was nuts to indict a former president, a current presidential candidate. We thought it was crazy, and now we're here. We're right in the middle of it. So if this is the Rubicon, if this is the threshold that they're willing to cross, why wouldn't they also not cross the line of holding him in custody? After all, they think this was the greatest threat in America since the Civil War. They forgot about Pearl Harbor. They forgot about 9/11. And they said that Trump and January 6th was the greatest threat since that era. So how could they let him out of custody if that is what they really believe? So, of course, we'll continue to cover, my friends, and it's only heating up. Now, what the heck just happened here? Let's see if we can figure this out for a quick minute. we have an app that we can check. I mean, this is just totally inappropriate. All right, that happened. Okay, we're back. What are the feds doing with my lights, man? All right, we're back in business. Gosh, the feds. If it happens again, we'll deal with it, you know. Feds are in the tubes, feds are in the lights, everywhere we go. But we carry on. Trump prosecutors denied. Special counsel Jack Smith loses a little interesting skirmish here in the battle over witnesses. We remember that when Trump initially was arraigned, there was a protective order that was issued. The judge very briefly said to Trump and his defense, well, just don't talk to all the witnesses out there. And this is a normal rule that happens. If it's a domestic violence situation, example, you're a defendant. The judge says, okay, I'm going to let you out, go home, go to work, do your things. Just don't contact the other party. You go, okay, that makes sense. The defendant doesn't contact the victim. You don't contact the other witnesses. Don't contact her. Okay, makes sense. Got it. So normally it's very routine. So the judge just said to Trump, don't contact the other witnesses. And the question was, well, what other witnesses? I mean, this is going to be a big case. There's going to be a lot of witnesses here. And Trump, as we know from the other protective order, is really limited on what notes he can take. And there's all these rules and regulations about what material he can even write notes and take out of the attorney's offices and so on. So the government came out and they asked for some more specificity on that witness list rule. They said, well, you know, Judge, we should probably clear all this up a little bit. In fact, we want to ask you to implement some of these special conditions of release. Trump already had release conditions set, and this is a very brief filing, just about a page and a half. It's U.S. versus Trump. And they say, you know, Your Honor, this is special counsel writing, Jack Smith and his, dorks over there, says on June 13th, Magistrate Judge Goodman, who presided over the initial appearance, was the first court date when Trump went down there in Miami. At the hearing, Judge Goodman orally ruled that as a special condition of release, both defendants, Trump and Walt, are prohibited from communicating with certain witnesses about the facts of the case except through counsel. All right. Don't talk to anybody about it. So, and that's a very broad rule. So the government's like, amazing. Man, we can't wait to use that for all of our witnesses. Trump can't talk to any of these people. His hands are going to be totally tied behind his back. We can't wait for this. The court further ordered that the government provide counsel for defendants with a list of witnesses. So that means the government give to Trump lawyers a list of witnesses to whom this prohibition would apply. So they're like, oh, great, we're going to tell everybody and put Trump's entire Mar-a-Lago team on there. Then Trump can't talk to them about this. The prohibition applies to Trump. So then on June 22nd, the government gave Trump's lawyers a list of these witnesses. And look, the list does not comprise all of the other witnesses that the government might call at trial. In order to implement, which means we might have a big long list. In order to implement Judge Goodman's specific and special conditions of release, the court hereby moves to file this list of witnesses under seal, right? And now we're like, wait a minute, what? The government has conferred with Donald Trump about this motion. They've authorized to say the following. So this is Trump's response to this. Trump's team said, well, defense counsel takes no position on the motion to seal the list of witnesses, but deserves the right to object to the special condition in the manner in which it was implemented by the government giving us a list of 84 witnesses, right? That's a big list of people. In compliance with the government's request, also, they want Trump to sign an acknowledgement that he's got the list, that he's read it. And they want the government to have a copy of the executed acknowledgements, right? Like, man, they're like, first of all, we don't think Trump's going to read this list. And so we want him to read the list. And we have 84 people on this list that he can't talk to. And so he's got to respond and say, I did my homework. And if you don't do my homework right, then you're going to be in trouble. And a proposed acknowledgement form is submitted as attachment A. This is all signed by Jay Bratt, counselor to the special counsel team. He's the guy who allegedly was threatening Walt Nauda's lawyer, was saying, if you don't cooperate with us, you're going to lose your ability to be a judge in D.C. You'd hate that, wouldn't you? So you can see here, like it's really trying to handcuff Trump and his team. They said, wow, great. Judge Goodman at the first proceeding gave us an opening. He said, don't talk to other witnesses, Your Honor. We have now 84 witnesses Donald Trump can't talk to, and we want him to say, I know I've got the list, I read it, and I promised to do it, and so on. So, wow, that's pretty bold. So they send all this over to the court, and guess what, man? The judge is not having it at all. She fired this right back. This is what the court docket looks like. This was a paperless order, meaning we don't have a formal PDF of it. But Judge Eileen Cannon submitted the following. She said, this is the order from the court denying the government's motion for those special conditions. She says the government seeks an order implementing a special condition on 84 listed witnesses about the case, which is what the government read into the first order after the initial appearance. The government conditions its request, they say, on its filing of a non-exhaustive list under seal. So meaning they've got 84 people, they want to file it under seal, and it's not even the full list. It's like, is there anything else you want? You want fries with that? Defendants take no position on the government's seal request, but reserve the right to challenge the manner in which this came into play. The government cites various laws, but the government's motion is denied. The government's motion does not explain why filing this list with the court is necessary. It does not offer a particularized basis to justify the sealing of the list. Why do we need to seal it? So first of all, you're not telling me why I need to know about these 84 people. It sounds like you're asking me to just kind of be like a hall monitor for this, which I'm not going to do. You also don't give us a basis for justifying the sealing of this. It doesn't explain why a partial sealing or redaction or any other means are unavailable or not satisfactory. So the government just wants it all sealed. They just want it all done. But she says, no, open this stuff up. And so the clerk is directed to reject this, and you lose. So it's very, very, I think a great ruling. The government was trying to squeeze something through there, and the judge rejected them and dumped them right back out. So it's a big actual victory for Trump, and it's a little bit of a backhand to the special counsel who's trying to get more than the judge gave them. We also have another update because the special counsel's office also asked for a trial continuance. We know that this trial was originally scheduled for August. Now they're asking for a December date, and we don't have any real answers on this one because the judge is going to be waiting for Trump's team to respond. The government asked for a continuance, as we'll see. Trump's team has a right to respond, and the right to a speedy trial is really held with the defendant. If the defendant wants to have a speedy trial, the government has a certain time frame in which they have to bring the case. But if they don't, if the defense wants to investigate their case and they need time to corroborate with expert witnesses and get their case in order and do their witnesses and go through more discovery, they also, as a matter of due process rights, have the capability to request that time if they need it, and the judge can make a decision as to whether they're entitled to it or not. Here, the judge is going to rule on the request from the government. And I want to share a little bit about what this looks like because timing is going to be extremely important in this case. Unlike a lot of other criminal cases where, it doesn't really matter what month of the year we have the trial or when we have the trial. Sometimes criminal trials are delayed because people want to stay out of custody longer, and they're sort of, working things out and things get delayed and there's excuses made and so on and so forth. And there are reasons why you might have trials at different times of the year. But this one matches up with an election, and Donald Trump is an electoral candidate. He is running for the presidency. And by some polls, he's well within the margin of error, which means he's probably doing very well. So what you can see is the government is asking for a continuance. It was originally scheduled for a trial in August, and now we're bumping it out. They want it to go to December 11th. Here's what they say. Your Honor, for the reasons discussed below, we're asking to postpone this trial. A declaration in support has been filed. We'll read through that. And the government have conferred with counsel for Trump and Nauta in a good faith effort to resolve this by a motion by agreement. So this is something that also happens, right? Every time you file a motion, what you'll typically do is reach out to the other side and get their position on it. Do you oppose this motion? Do you agree? Do you take no position? Here, Trump's team confirmed they do not oppose an adjournment of the current trial date, meaning the current date that's set for August. They're okay moving that, and request a status hearing with the court to address and schedule in this action. So they're not just automatic. Trump's people say, look, yeah, we can postpone the trial. I think they're going to want to postpone it until after the election. And theoretically, they're going to try to push it, I would imagine, all the way out past the election, because there's too many variables and unknowns that happen in election season. I think the judges are even going to be skeptical about having it now or any time closer to the election because of the jurors. So defense counsel, Trump's team, they say we want another hearing. We'll come back and we'll parse through this all together in person. Defense counsel anticipate filing an opposition motion addressing their objections to the government's dates. Okay, so Trump's okay moving it, but they're just not okay moving it to December 11th. Prosecutors tell us the following. A grand jury in this district returned an indictment on June 8th. Trump and Walt made their appearances June 13th. June 19th, Judge Reinhart granted the government's motion for a protective order, which we read through here, and we set new dates in the omnibus motion, which we reviewed. Now, they tell us that the law gives us factors that are important for continuances. Okay, you don't just get to say, well, you know, the trial's like on the third week of the month. I just don't like the third week of the month. I'm kind of tired on the third week. Can we move it to the first week of the following month? Or, you know, I just don't like to do trials on Thursdays or something, right? They don't care about that. It's got to be a legitimate reason and typically require exceptional circumstances in order to do it. So as an initial matter, this case, this is the government speaking, as an initial matter, this case is not so unusual or complex as to fall within this law because it has only two defendants, involves straightforward theories of liability, and does not present novel questions of fact or law. These people are psycho. All right. So there's a different category of criminal law where it's called complex cases. Okay, some cases are simple. It's one defendant, one crime. You have a couple charges and a simple theory of the case. If one person got a DUI, they're probably guilty of the traffic offense and maybe the possession offense and the other things. It's not complicated. There are other cases that are very complicated, and we designate those cases complex. We say, this is not the ordinary run-of-the-mill here. We've got a lot to unpack. And it's going to require, you know, multiple court settings, multiple status conferences where we unpack all of the complexities. One theory in this case is we've got classified documents. We've got 31 of them. We've got a new novel question of law in that it's a former president. We've got questions about executive privilege, attorney-client privilege being breached, all new from the presidency. We've got questions about whether classified documents can be declassified and all of those questions under the Presidential Records Act. This is all going to bring in absolutely brand new constitutional law questions. Absolutely. It's never happened before in this country. How can it not? But these prosecutors will tell you, I mean, I can't even believe they wrote this with a straight face, does not present novel issues of fact or law. These people are nuts. Like, just ask yourself this. Even if you're a Democrat, what are you talking about? This does not present novel questions of fact or law? Really? It's not new? There's nothing new here? Can you point me to the other president that got his house raided and indicted for being in possession of classified documents that he claims he's got legitimate entitlement to? No, it's never happened. It is literally a novel question of fact or law. It's a novel question of law. It's a novel question of fact, both of them. So it obviously is a complex case. And it might be straightforward to them, but it only has two defendants. It's got 84 witnesses, according to their earlier filing. These people are so dishonest, it makes you sick. But they continue. They say, however, finally acknowledging this, after they must just be laughing themselves. They must be just laughing. I got to imagine they're just saying, you didn't really write that, did you? No, I wrote it. I swear I wrote it in there. You wrote it does not present novel questions of fact or law. Yeah, I put it in there. You're kidding me. Jay put it in the motion. Oh my gosh. They're all laughing because this whole thing's a joke. However, the case does, finally they admit, involve classified information, and it will necessitate defense counsel obtaining the requisite security clearances. Meaning they're also going to try to stop Trump from even getting access to see the documents. They're going to say, he's not president anymore. He doesn't need to see this stuff. They're going to redact it. They're going to try to hide everything. They're going to make it difficult for them to get security clearances. We already know, per the prior order, Trump can't even retain possession of his notes on the case. As the court is aware, the government prosecutors say that process is already underway. According to the litigation support group, decisions on clearances for Trump's lawyers should be made within 48 hours. Fill out the right forms. Interim clearances will enable the lawyers for Trump to review the vast majority of the classified discovery. Not all of it, though. The vast majority. Interim clearances. The decision on granting the final clearance required to allow counsel to review the remaining number of small documents is going to occur within 45 to 60 days. All right. So there's some other, evidence, I think, or inferences we can parse out from this. There are some documents that actually require a higher level of clearance. And we know that, top secret and all the things. But it sounds like there's a subset, there's a big batch of the 31 documents. A lot of those, they'll be able to see relatively quickly with just an interim clearance, which means to me that they're not serious documents, right? I mean, yes, every classified document, I'm sure, is a serious document. In fact, actually, I retract that. I would imagine that everything is heavily overclassified. But I think that in this trial, they have whittled it down to a subset. In other words, there were other classified documents that existed in the universe at Mar-a-Lago, but Trump only got prosecuted for a subset of all of the classified documents, which is the 31. And from that 31, there's a small subset that requires higher level classification, which means it's more serious, which means the others are less serious or not serious, such that all you need is an interim clearance to go be able to review it, right? So we're talking about a small subset of documents that actually require the higher level clearance. What number of those, we don't know. The remaining is a small number. How many? Okay, what's the number on that? We'd like to know that. That will occur later. Are those the Iran war plans or what's going on there? I don't know. Now, in addition, the associated legal process under the Classified Information Procedures Act, called CIPA, which is what they're going to use to try to, this is their toolbox to help keep Trump and his hands handcuffed. They say under the Classified Information Procedures Act, the legal process will inject additional time in the lead up to the trial that would otherwise not be involved. Okay, so we're going to actually need more time. That's why the August date needs to be pushed back. The government has attached a proposed calendar for the classified process, assuming a trial date with jury selection beginning December 11th. The government also filed, which is, primary season. The government also filed a motion for a pretrial conference, which we reviewed. That video will be coming out. We reviewed this at our members-only stream this morning. That motion describes the CIPA proceedings that are likely to entail. Following entry of the protective order, the government has moved swiftly to produce all unclassified material, including Jenks material, which is evidence that they are using, their experts will use and rely upon. It's that type of evidence and disclosure. So unclassified stuff has already gone over. Jenks materials all gone to the defense, and a significant portion of that started going over June 21st. Here's what is in this tranche of documents that went over to Trump. Evidence that they got from subpoena, evidence they got from warrants, transcripts of the grand jury testimony, memorialization of witness interviews, a reproduction of key documents the government says are pertinent, copies of closed-circuit TV footage that the government got during its investigation. That's probably the Mar-a-Lago footage. They say even with the prompt production the government has completed, including the additional time to review and digest and make their own decisions about production, this is reasonable and appropriate. And so as a result, proceeding with trial on August 14th is not appropriate. It would deny counsel for the government reasonable time to prepare. And for the foregoing reasons, pretty simple, we ask to postpone this trial to December 11th. Exclude the delay. All right, so some people will ask about speedy trial provisions and the right to a speedy trial. And when you see on the chessboard when people will take a move and they'll hit the button and the time stops and the other person's time starts, and then you've got the clock is ticking and going down against you, and you make your move and you press the button, it's the other side's clock starts counting. It's kind of like that. Except here, the government is saying, well, We are asking to press the button so the other time starts, and we don't want any of this time to count against us. We're asking for more time, in other words. Don't count this against us, because it's really for the benefit of the defense. And it's because it's a little bit of a complex case because it's security and classified materials, but not that complex in that it justifies a complex case designation, which would really postpone this thing out probably, I don't know, maybe till the end of 2024, like a full 270 to 365 days out if it's designated complex, way out. Definitely not this year. So then continuing the calendar call, which is the date before the trial. Calendar call is like kind of final call, last call. So you come in December 5th. Are we ready to go? We're ready to go. All right, we'll see you back here on the 11th. And then continuing all of the other deadlines to November 20th, 2023. So all submitted by David Harbach, who is a new addition to the team. He just submitted his notice of appearance. Also joined by Jay Bratt, Julie Edelstein, with proposed orders. And very briefly, this is a brief, this is the declaration from Jay Bratt. I'll share this briefly. But the declaration says, I am employed. This is one of the prosecutors. He's filing a declaration to explain why this case needs to be postponed. I'm one of the prosecutors involved. Based on my personal knowledge, this involves classified materials, and it varies from document to document. Security clearance, though, is still required to review them. No defense counsel currently has security clearance, so they got to get one. We're going to expedite this stuff, but we'll see how quickly it goes. We are committed to reaching an eligibility determination in 24 to 48 hours. So the prosecutors are in such control of the evidence that now they're able to issue security clearances, right, and determine whether Trump's team can actually see the stuff. Because we've got confidential, secret, and top secret. Interim security clearances are not sufficient for the government to provide in a small number of documents, as we read in the prior motion. And so a lot of this has been turned over. He says, I've got extensive experience with this. And so you can know that I'm telling you the truth. I work for the Justice Department. I'm Jay Bratt. This is the schedule that they proposed. You can see pretty detailed here. And the important dates for us are this one, December 11th. December 5th is the calendar call. We've got motions deadlines for the Classified Information Act here, November 28th. And you can see it's going to be a busy schedule. So our next date would be August 14th for certain deadlines. And they are moving forward with this thing. This is the proposed order, but the judge has issued a response. And the judge says the following, that on or before July 6th, Trump shall respond to the government's motion for a continuance, either individually, meaning Walt files his and Trump files his, or they file it together. This one's signed by Judge Cannon, very brief. And we also have a new pretrial conference scheduled on July 14th. So we'll have another update on July 14th, just a few short weeks from now. And so we're getting more filings. Trump's team is going to respond to a lot of this stuff, and it's going to continue to heat up. But a big victory for Trump in that the government asked that Trump really be limited and handcuffed. 84 witnesses are off limits. Judge Cannon says, no. That's not how that's going to work here today. And so we'll continue to cover this, of course. Nice ruling from Cannon. Now, we also have some interesting compare and contrast to get into. Because as the Trump prosecution continues, we ask ourselves why others are not being prosecuted. So is the media. The Biden administration is getting grilled over the double standard that everybody knows exists. Donald Trump's being prosecuted. January 6ers are being prosecuted. Many other people are being investigated and castigated by the FBI and the intelligence agencies. But Hunter Biden goes free. He's got an entire laptop of debauchery. He's got tons of evidence documented of criminality. But nothing goes bad for him. He's the president's son. Daddy fixes everything. And so the media is wondering about this plea deal. And we also have questions now that this whistleblower has come out, who is highly credible, who worked at the IRS, specifically on the Hunter Biden investigation. And he's saying that what Merrick Garland and the Biden administration are telling us is not true. It's dishonest. This fiction that there was impartiality and arm's length distance between the Hunter investigation and his daddy, who runs the Justice Department, is all not true. And so the media, to their credit, is asking questions about this. And John Kirby, you can see his contorted face here, didn't want to answer any of the questions, literally just left.
The House Ways and Means Committee yesterday released documents, their authenticity nowhere challenged. That included a July 2017 WhatsApp message sent by Hunter Biden to Henry Zhao, a Chinese Communist Party official, which stated in its entirety, and I quote, "I am sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand, and now means tonight. And Z, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang, or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows, and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father," unquote. So just a couple of questions about this. First, does this not undermine the president's claim during the 2020 campaign and the reaffirmations of that claim by his two press secretaries since then, that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with him?
No, and I'm not going to comment further on this.
We're good.
I'm not. James, let me save you some. Let me save you some breath. If you're going to ask about this, I am not addressing. I know you do more than I'd like you to have. I am not going to address this issue from this podium. I'm just not going to do it.
All right.
I'm not going to do
Where
it.
was the precedent on it?
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Oh, John. It's an important question, John. And we've got a lot of answers that we'd like to hear from you. But he just bails because that's basically what they do. Probably wasn't expecting to get that answer because they don't really want to answer much of anything. And normally, I think the programming must have gone bad. Normally, he just says something like, I'll defer you to the special counsel's office or to the White House counsel's office or whatever. But the press didn't let them get away with it. Kirby makes a beeline for the door, which is really what we see Joe Biden do a lot. And now Karine is next on deck. So if John doesn't want to answer it, well, how about Karine?
And secondly, the president invited his son Hunter to the state dinner last night. I'm wondering if you could take us into the thinking and the decision-making of why
the reason why would you do that?
I'm just not going to get into family discussion, personal family discussion.
It's
As
not.
you
It's the
know,
State
Hunter's
Department.
his son. I'm just not going to get into
It's
it.
the state. It's a state
If
dinner.
Hunter Biden wasn't the president's son, would he have invited someone who had just reached a plea agreement with federal prosecutors
Well,
2 days earlier?
a couple of things.
Great question.
Again, that's his son. He's a family member.
But
It
it's a
is
state
not
dinner.
uncommon for family members to attend events at the White House. You
With-
could look
with
at past presidents.
federal
I'm sure
charges?
you have. So that is not uncommon.
Did they
As
just
it
take
relates
plea
to
deals?
anything related to Hunter, I'm just not going to respond to it from here.
Okay. Well, he was at the State
Can I
Department.
follow up on that?
Okay.
No, I just called in somebody. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Kirby wouldn't answer James's question, though. Are you going to answer the question? I mean, not a reasonable question to ask whether the President of the United States was involved, as this message seems to suggest, in some sort of a coercive conversation for business dealings by his son. Is that something, if he wasn't, then maybe you should tell us.
So here's the thing, and I appreciate the question. I believe my colleague at the White House Counsel has answered this question
There it
already,
is.
has
We were
dealt
waiting
with
for that
this,
one.
has made it very clear. I just don't have anything to share outside of what my colleagues have shared, and so I would refer you to him and the DOJ. Just not going to comment from here.
Text message.
What I can tell you is I know that my colleague has dealt with this. He addressed this at the White House
Not really.
Counsel. I just don't have anything else to share.
In the shakedown attempt?
I just answered the question. I just answered the question.
No, you didn't. Yes or no, was the president involved in the
I just
shakedown
an-
attempt?
Stephen, I just answered the question. It's not up to you how I answer the question. I just answered the question by telling you my colleagues at the White House Counsel has dealt with this, and I would refer you to them. Go ahead.
Karine, can you just remind us what your colleague said from the White House Counsel?
Yeah, remind us,
So we
Karine.
have it. from you at the
I
podium?
would refer you to them, and they will share their statement with all of
My
you.
question is about your statements from that podium. You stated that the president stands by his comment from the 2020 campaign that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with his son. And you stood at that podium and you reaffirmed that. Do you stand by your reaffirmation?
What I will say is nothing has changed. Nothing has
Spicy.
changed. And I will leave it there. Anything else, I will refer you to the White House counsel.
This is not a change?
I just answered the question. You just asked me, does my statement change? I just told you nothing has changed. That's answering the question. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The
Go
president was
ahead.
there 2 days
Go ahead,
prior.
Stephen. I'm calling on your colleague right now. Go ahead.
Thank
Quiet,
you.
Stephen.
To follow up on my colleague, is there anything that you can say with
Anything at all?
regard
Like-
to this text message and what the president's son was alleging? Was the president there or not?
I would refer you to my colleagues at the White House counsel. They have addressed this. and I
There
would
it is
refer you to
again.
them. Go ahead.
Karine, have you spoken to the president about this? Have you asked him whether he was there with his son on July 30th?
This is not a conversation that I've had with the president. Again, I would refer you to the White House
Do
counsel.
you plan to have that conversation with the president?
No.
No.
Did the president speak with the attorney general at all
I
last
can't,
night at the state dinner?
I cannot say if the president had had a conversation with the attorney general last night. What I can refer you to is the White House counsel's office as it relates to the
Merrick Garland was at that dinner.
allegations. They've already addressed this. This is something for them to deal with. I refer you to the Department of Justice on anything else if you don't want to speak to the White House counsel's office.
And there was reporting earlier in the week that after the plea agreement was reached by Hunter Biden, that the president felt relieved that that part of it was behind him. Is that true? Can you speak
I can't
to his
speak to that.
mindset?
I cannot speak to the president's mindset. Again, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office.
White House counsel's office is going to be a very common phrase there in the press briefing room because, man, she does not want to answer those questions. And she got a couple more of them today. Of course, we'll get there in a quick second. But there were some other rumors that Joe Biden apparently maybe lawyered up. And every morning during the weeks, we like to check in with the presidential schedule on our member-only stream and see what he has in store for us, what he's actually up to. And today we saw that he was back in town from a weekend at Camp David. And Marjorie Taylor Greene and Rep. Darrell Issa, they communicated the following on Twitter. They said, Joe Biden has lawyered up. Now, we don't know if he was down there meeting with his lawyers or not, but this is what she said. Says Burisma owner and Ukrainian oligarch who paid Joe $5 million said it would take 10 years to find Joe Biden's web of criminality. He underestimated the oversight Republicans. It took us 6 months. She says, impeach Joe Biden. And she wasn't alone on this. Representative Darrell Issa said the same thing, said on Twitter that he thinks that Joe Biden has lawyered up. That's what they were doing in Camp David. But Joe Biden was giving a speech about American internet or something, high-speed internet access. And on his way out, he got asked about this scandal. A reporter said, did you lie when you told us you didn't have any deals with your son? You didn't engage in these foreign businesses with him? Okay, so shout out to this journo here who is doing a great job asking him questions. I'm going to boost that volume a little bit as we listen to it one more time. She asks him, did you lie about Hunter? Did you lie? And then he says, no, no. He shouts it. And then she says, anything about Hunter? And then he walks on out of there. So it's a resounding no from Joe. One more time. All right, so that's the president saying no. Well, we're not so sure about that. I think the answer is yes. I think you did lie there, Joe. Now, of course, we've got the Democrats who are doing cover up and reacting to try to paper over this whole deal. One woman we'll check in is Senator Amy Klobuchar, who says Joe Biden's a heroic man. He's brought a lot of jobs back, and so that's why we shouldn't care about his corrupt DOJ.
Dinner. Do you think it was appropriate for Hunter Biden to be at the same event as the Attorney General Merrick Garland was in the same week he accepted a plea deal?
You know, I think as the president explains, that's his son. That's a separate thing. And I would like to say about that decision was made by an independent prosecutor who was a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney who had 10 years of experience, well-respected. Philadelphia Inquirer reported that he was a registered Republican. He looked at the facts and evidence and made that decision. And
now we're going to come back to that because that's not what the IRS whistleblower says. The IRS whistleblower says the opposite, actually. Says, I was a part of the investigative team. And by the way, it's not just one IRS whistleblower, it's two. And one of them is a gay man. And he told us that in his opening statement. And so it is baffling to me that Democrats would be so bigoted that they would be denying the truth of a gay man who works for the IRS. It's unbelievable. So he is explaining to us these two whistleblowers that know they were on the Hunter Biden literal investigation team. They wanted and sat in meetings discussing options to bring criminal charges in California, in D.C. They brought it to David Weiss, but he told them, no, I don't have that authority. He went to Matthew Graves, who was the U.S. attorney in D.C. Matthew Graves said no. He went to the new attorney who just got appointed by Joe Biden, said no in California. And we know that other people, not even David Weiss, like Lesley Wolf, were tipping off Hunter Biden's lawyers before the IRS and the FBI were going to conduct overt surveillance and go into storage facilities. But they always default to this Trump-appointed Republican David Weiss. The whole thing's a joke. It's a scam to divert your attention away from the truth. It means nothing. The reason they kept him on the case was because he was somebody that they could control. And we've also got other reports from the whistleblowers that people in Delaware, the reason why they wanted to keep this whole thing in Delaware is because Joe Biden owns Delaware. He's been there for 40 years. And he can keep good tabs and good control on the various mechanics that happen. So let's remember all of that when she comes and tells us this whole thing is done above board.
By the way, if that's what the Republicans want to run on in the coming election, good luck, because the president is going to be able to run on the strength of his work in bringing 13 million jobs back to America, in resurging manufacturing in our country, and in moving forward.
You understand the perception issue of something like that, though?
I do.
You do?
And do you wish that perception were different?
Awkward.
You always wish there were different perceptions, but that's not reality. Reality is whether or not someone is going to be able to get their insulin, and the president has made changes. Reality is whether someone has a job. Reality is when they can go visit their grandma again in an assisted living.
You kept grandmas locked down and get their insulin. The heck are we talking about? We're talking about the Justice Department here and about corruption permeating the DOJ, the FBI, and the entire Biden White House to cover up their crimes. Kind of important.
Those are people's realities, not who is sitting where at a state dinner.
Well, it's more than that there, Amy. It is bad perception, but only if you're a MAGA Republican who hates your kids. If you actually loved your son, then you would understand Joe Biden's predicament. He's a good father, man. And his criminal son that he was involved in the criminality, showing up to meetings, getting 10% held in trust for the big guy, all of the things. It's just father-son love, man. It's like going fishing. It's like going hiking. Except this is fishing in Burisma, Ukraine.
The Hunter Biden story, the scandal, the this, the that, it's also the story of a father's love. And Joe Biden has never and will never give up on his son Hunter, and will never treat him lesser than. And so he is a father first. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. All right? It doesn't matter what type of criminality they do. It doesn't matter if it's 100% held for the big guy. It doesn't matter if it's $1 billion a month on Burisma or whatever. It's a father's love for his troubled son. Did you hear that little hiccup there?
The Hunter Biden story, the scandal, the this, the that, it's also the story of a father's love. And Joe Biden has never and will never give up on his son Hunter, and will never treat him lesser than. And so he is a father first. Take it or leave it.
All right. Well, I wonder if she would apply that same standard to Donald Trump or anything like that. But of course, Trump's kids haven't committed various felonies on multiple continents. So the question is to Karine, now that they're all inviting Hunter to state dinners, now that he's got this sweetheart plea deal, He's hanging out with Merrick Garland and prime ministers. He's flying around on Air Force One. He's got the whole DOJ in his pocket. One little minor question for all of us is, has Hunter Biden stopped his criminality? We know that he had all sorts of business deals with China and various nefarious entities around this entire globe, and was threatening Chinese businessmen, saying, give us the money or else my dad's going to do this. A lot of bad things. We saw a lot of the photographs on that laptop, and boy, it's a mess. But the question is, has he stopped? Has anybody actually turned the water off? It's overflowing, but has anybody turned the water off? Has he actually stopped any of this, or is he still doing it? Because Joe Biden doesn't know where he is. Karine, has a memo gone out to tell him to stop wrecking America and raping the Treasury?
Not unusual for presidents to invite members of their family to official White House functions, like the state dinner last week. I'm curious, though, in light of some of the recent legal controversy, if the president communicated to members of his family not to conduct business on White House grounds. Can you tell us about any kinds of guardrails that are up?
So look, I'm going to be, again, very mindful because this is all connected to
stuff I don't want to talk about. A
case that the DOJ is currently overseeing, so I'm not going to comment on that specifically. But as you know, and we have laid out very early.
You can't tell us if he's like still committing crimes or not?
Early on in this administration, when it comes to ethics, when it comes to how we all kind of move about and how we respect clearly the government ethics here. This is an administration that has been incredibly transparent on that and has put some very strict rules. And so I can speak to that. I can speak to how the president has moved forward in making sure that the people.
We have rules like federal tax laws and federal gun laws and stuff like that that we don't break, you know, anymore. I mean, Hunter did for a while, but not anymore, though.
Who work for him and himself are held to kind of a strict course of action, but I'm not going to speak to anything that's related to the case. I'm going to
anything about guardrails for the president's family?
I'm just not going to speak to anything that's related to this
Do
case.
any guardrails exist?
I'm not going to speak to anything
like John
that is
Kirby.
related to this case.
Bye.
As you stated, there are we've had when it comes to ethics, we take that very, very seriously
Yes,
here in this
we know.
administration. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, we know. Yes, they take it very seriously. So John Kirby doesn't like the questions. Karine doesn't like the questions. They're just now deferring everything over to the White House counsel's office. But I'm not sure that's going to fly. As Pandora's box for them continues to open and more evidence comes out, the Biden crime family will continue to be exposed and the facade will crumble down. So now, my friends, the question is, what do we do about all of this? And we have some promises from some people out there. Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, now promising that there's going to be repercussions for Merrick Garland and his DOJ's problematic investigation and inquiries into Hunter Biden. Now, this comes after a whistleblower made a statement saying that the DOJ was pursuing double standards, saying that while they were investigating Hunter, the DOJ's office was putting their thumb on the scale, limiting what they could actually do in this investigation. Merrick Garland didn't like that implication at all. And he came out, and you can see standing behind him is Lisa Monaco, who looks like she may have lost a little weight. And she is standing there, and they are delivering something that we often call here, pound the table. Pound the table. In the law, there's a saying, it goes like this. When the facts of the case are not on your side, the facts are not on your side, pound the law. All right, go into the law, find the good law, and pound the law. Just hit that hard. Law, 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 all day long. Forget about the facts. If the facts are bad, if the law is bad, then you forget about the law, forget about the rules, forget about the statutes, forget about everything, and just pound the law. And if both of those are bad, if the facts are bad and the laws are bad, you just pound the table. Ah! And you scream about the process, and you scream about how offended you are about everything. And I can't believe that a judge would do this. And I can't believe that the prosecutor did that. And how dare you question me about this and the other thing? It's called pounding the table. And it's something that you do when you have really nothing else on your side, when you've kind of screwed things up pretty badly. And that's exactly what this sounds like from Merrick Garland. And this is how we know, this is the default standard from the FBI, from really any government bureaucrat, but really you'll notice it with the FBI and the DOJ. Man, they get so offended when you say that they're executing a double standard. Well, no, we're not. We're like, yeah, you are. We've got it all chronicled here, dummies. And they say, I'm offended. How dare you? They pound the table. Here it is.
Mr. Attorney General, Republicans in Congress have flirted with the idea of holding the FBI director in contempt. It's become a talking point on the campaign trail, the alleged corruption in the FBI and other federal law enforcement agencies. Do the American people have cause to be concerned about the integrity of the components of this Justice Department, and what do you have to say about how they're acting?
I certainly understand that some have chosen to attack the integrity of the Justice Department as
attack the integrity of the Justice Department.
Attack the integrity of the Justice Department as components and its employees by claiming that we do not treat like cases alike.
You don't.
This constitutes an attack on an institution that is essential to American democracy and essential to the safety of the American people.
They're under attack now. Do you see that? He used that word twice. The DOJ is under attack because we're questioning their unethical standards, because we are bringing up their own whistleblowers who were on their own investigation. The IRS whistleblowers were a part of DOJ. They were working with DOJ investigators and FBI investigators. They stepped out. They're the ones saying it, Merrick. It's not everybody else. So they're questioning your own integrity. They were lifers there. And now you're going to say that the rest of us who are asking for answers, demanding answers as a result of their blowing the whistle, are the ones attacking you? This is called legitimate governance. You have to respond to the will of the people. Now, they're not doing that right now. We'll see how it works out for them. But here he goes, pounding the table again.
Nothing could be further from the truth.
Nothing.
You've all heard me say many times that we make our cases based on the facts and the law. These are not just words. These are what we live by. They are the foundation of the way we make these decisions. The agents of the FBI, as well as the DEA, the ATF, our deputy U.S. Marshals, every day, often at great personal risk, protect the American people and secure its safety. Our cases are based on their work. I could not be more proud to work with them.
All right, so he didn't answer anything about the allegation, just so we're clear. He talked for about a minute, maybe 45 seconds or so. Didn't respond to anything other than just saying integrity, integrity, integrity. And Merrick Garland doesn't often answer questions. He's not that good at it. And he usually comes out and gives scripted speeches. A lot of this stuff gets delegated over to Lisa Monaco, this woman right here. We see her name on all sorts of filings. She does a lot of the DOJ's dirty work. And she actually looks different here. So this is a curious thing that he is taking questions. And did you see how flustered he looked, actually? His face actually looked agitated, like he was irritable that we were even asking him about this stuff. Filings and double standards and great sacrifice and all this stuff. And you're going, what great sacrifice are many of these people involved in? You guys are making up evidence and sending emails to Twitter to censor MAGA Republicans. Yeah, great personal sacrifice. Sitting behind your little censor boxes and censoring Americans because you don't like Trump. Creating fictional evidence like the Steele dossier and then running that up the chain. Give me a break.
Treat like cases alike. This constitutes an attack on an institution that is essential to American democracy.
There it is. Essential to American democracy. I'm not so sure about that there, Mayor. I think that you guys are one of the biggest questionable institutions that this country has now because of what you're doing to democracy. Because your agency indicted Trump. Talk about shattering democracy. You could have let the people make a decision on that. You didn't. You wanted to sideline your political enemies. But they're going to scream at us about American democracy. What other democracies are prosecuting their number one political opponents? You want to explain that to me, Mayor? You're doing it, buddy.
Essential to the safety of the American people. Nothing could be further from the truth. You've all heard me say many times that we make our cases based on the facts and the law. These are not just words. These are what we live by. They are the foundation of the way we make these decisions.
No, they're
The
not.
agents of the FBI,
You guys
as well
are
as the
power-hungry
DEA, the
maniacs.
ATF, our deputy U.S. Marshals,
All of them.
every day, often at great personal risk, protect the American people and secure its safety.
I'm sure there are very good agents in each one of those agencies doing great work. I don't have any question about that. But the people on top, the people like Mayor, they are power-hungry maniacs who are undermining American democracy, not promoting it in any way, shape, or form. And so he came out with that statement. Says, you know, we're very honest people here. We speak through our filings and everything's above board and blah, blah, blah. Well, Byron York, who is the chief correspondent over for Washington Examiner, he got this. The IRS whistleblower, who we know here as Gary Shapley, he testified that the U.S. attorney in charge, David Weiss, who we know well, said he wanted to bring charges in D.C. but was denied. Many people balked, right? Many said, no, that didn't happen. No way. No way Shapley could know that. No way he could know that. Well, here's more from Shapley. All right, this was the letter that they got. June 23rd, Jason Foster and Tristan Levitt, Empower Oversight Committee. Empower Oversight Agency who sent the letter. They said, in an October 7, 2022 meeting, this is a follow-up notice, a meeting at Delaware U.S. Attorney Office, David Weiss, who was there at the meeting, told 6 witnesses, 6, he did not have authority to charge in other districts and had thus requested special counsel status. All right, so it's not just Gary Shapley there. There's 5 other people who heard that. He specifically requested special counsel status. So I'm sure that there are other people who memorialize this and remember it. Those 6 witnesses, whoa, we've got names. He named the names. Who was there? Let's find out. Baltimore FBI Special Agent in Charge, Tom Sobochinsky, was there. Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Raisha Holly, was there. Both from the FBI. IRS Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Gary Shapley, was there, and Special Agent in Charge, Daryl Walden, was there. Also independently and contemporaneously corroborated Mr. Shapley's account in an email, which is now public as an exhibit. Mr. Shapley would have no insight into why Mr. Weiss's would make these statements at the meeting if they were false. If he showed up there and said, I don't have the ability to charge Hunter, why would he lie? If he did, he lied to 6 people. That Mr. Weiss made these statements is easily corroborated, and it's up to him and the Justice Department to reconcile the evidence of the October statements with contrary statements by Mr. Weiss and the Attorney General to Congress, right? Weiss went to Congress, Merrick Garland went to Congress and said, I have they both said, I can do whatever I want in this case. I'm kind of like a special counsel, but not really. Turns out that's not true. David Weiss told 6 people, all named here. He didn't have that power. So we've got some liars in the House. And the question is, who are they? And how do they get rooted out and brought to the public's attention? And is it Merrick Garland is a big question. Now, another inquiry was about the extent to which this laptop was actually investigated, if at all. Hunter got 2 charges, a tax crime charge, not filing his taxes, and a gun charge. And those are pretty minor relative to the other things that we've seen him involved in on the laptop, the Hunter Biden laptop. But did the DOJ even look at the laptop? Did they even investigate it at all? Not really. This is first on NBC. Hunter Biden's lawyers, MSNBC. Breaking news. Hunter Biden's lawyer shows up and talks about the case and gets a very interesting question. Did you get asked by the government prosecutors about the laptop at all? Was that even a part of this?
Do you have any idea if Hunter Biden's laptop had anything to do with this investigation? Was it used?
I don't. No, I don't. I mean,
were you ever asked about it?
I can't recall being asked about it, to be honest with you. But there's nothing about the situation that's that's been filed that has a thing to do with the laptop?
Why not?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the prosecutors.
Yeah, great question from the defense. Great question. I don't know. I don't make charging decisions. It's not my job to go tell the government what to do. He's sitting there going like, well, I don't know. Well, it's a good question, actually. He's like, I'm glad they didn't bring that up, actually. That laptop's a disaster. If they would have brought that up, I mean, that could have changed everything. But why didn't they bring it up? Well, ask the prosecutors. Well, we know what the answer is from those prosecutors, obviously. What are they going to say? We already know they've got evidence that they were undermining the actual tax investigations. The FBI was in possession of the laptop since 2019, well before it was ever released to the public through the laptop repair shop owner. And they let the CIA and the rest of the media lie to us about this being a Russian disinformation, according to 51 so-called intelligence people. So we know why the DOJ didn't ask about the laptop, because they didn't want to. It would have brought in a whole nother set of charges. It's disgusting what they're doing. Other people are literally sitting in federal prison as a result of similar charges that Hunter committed. And many of these people are sitting in prison because of Joe Biden's crime bill. So it's just a twofer. It's a horrible thing. But McCarthy is promising that there will be some action. He posted this as a result of this confirmation from the whistleblower. Whistleblower says, I'd like literally name names. You want their names? Here they are. Go just send them a subpoena, Congress. So Kevin says, all right, well, we need to get to the facts. And that includes reconciling these clear disparities. U.S. Attorney David Weiss must provide answers to the House Judiciary Committee. If the whistleblower's allegations are true, we got a big if there, right? This will be a significant part of a larger impeachment inquiry into Merrick Garland's weaponization of the DOJ. All right, so I know we're not there yet. We've got a fact-finding provision, and then we've got to reconcile, and then we've got some questions. And then if it's true, it's going to be a part of a larger impeachment inquiry into Merrick Garland. Okay. So it's like if you can juggle like 37 things and catch them all at the same time and everything lines up perfectly, we'll do it. So we'll see. Now, I know I can be a little bit hard on the Republicans, but they have done some stuff, and we actually have seen some activity on this. Remember, we got the FBI to take some action. They brought a document over, and that was the first domino in this FD 1023 inquiry. We've got other activity happening. There was the censure of Adam Schiff, which was another nice development. We started to see some there. And maybe these are just baby steps. Congress is warming up. And so we've got the dominoes falling. We get to the facts. And this whistleblower, Gary Shapley, is providing some very juicy and spicy meatballs. We like that there. So now Congress has a whole list of other names. Oh, you were at the meeting? You were at the meeting? You were at the meeting? Great. Let's hear from you. Oh, that's interesting. Seems like the whole investigation was about as corrupt as can be. Kevin McCarthy says, might be worth an impeachment inquiry. Here's what that sounded like. And here he is ripping this Fox News person for not following him on Twitter.
Miranda Devine says that Joe Biden met with his business partners 12 times. 12 different times and 12 different deals, perhaps. So it's according to Rob Walker, who was in on all this stuff, good friend. He's all over the laptop. So will this prompt you to do a impeachment inquiry?
Well, you apparently don't follow me on Twitter, because yesterday I laid out very, very clearly by July 6th, because of the allegations from the IRS, because of the whistleblowers and the DOJ, Garland, what he is saying and what David Weiss are saying privately are two different things.
Right.
And if it comes true what the IRS whistleblower is saying, we're going to start impeachment inquiries on the Attorney General.
All right. If it comes true, we're going to start impeachment inquiries into the Attorney General. All right, we'll see. We'll see, Kev. We'll see. We're hoping there is some activity on it, because enough of these people already. Let's have some consequences for what they are doing to this country. Now, over at the White House, questions go to Karine. Hey, you know the Republicans have a problem with your investigation into Hunter? They're talking about impeaching Merrick Garland. Karine, what do you say about that?
Go ahead, John.
Thanks a lot, Karine. Over the weekend, Speaker McCarthy floated this idea of launching an impeachment inquiry targeting Attorney General Merrick Garland, and the focus here, according to the Speaker, would be Merrick Garland's weaponization of the DOJ. Well, what's your reaction to that idea?
So as you've heard me say repeatedly over and over again at this podium, is that the president respects the Department of Justice independence. He respects the rule of law, and that is what you're going to see under this administration. So I'm not going to speak to anything that is related to that piece, but I will say more broadly. Look, we've been very clear. I just laid out. We talked about Bidenomics. I was just asked by one of your colleagues why the president is focusing on this, why he's having this conversation with the American people, why we have coined this term. That's because the president believes that we have a lot of work to do for the American people, that this is the priorities of the American people, making sure we continue to build on the success that we've seen the last 2 years, continue to lower costs, making sure that we're implementing those historic pieces of legislation. Clearly that is now law, the bipartisan infrastructure legislation. When you think about the Chips and Science Act, when you think about the Inflation Reduction Act, all of these pieces of legislation that are now law, clearly, are incredibly important. And so that's what the president's going to talk about, investing in America. And it's unfortunate that congressional Republicans want to continue to focus on an issue that Americans that's not their priority. They want us to move in a bipartisan way on everything that I just laid out. We saw that in November.
Americans aren't concerned about a weaponized government against them. I think that's one of the biggest issues that this country has. A weaponized government against them in every shape and manner and form. Whether it's the CDC, the IRS, the FBI, the DOJ. People have questions about the double standards. Why are some favored defendants roaming free and get bail request bond posts on Twitter from Kamala Harris, while other defendants are rotting away in solitary confinement? Why is that? Double standards. It's not right. You can't have a society if there's no justice. It is a huge part of a system. And for these people to just scrape over it, it's like, well, we got more jobs though. And we signed a new holiday into law. You know, we signed a new holiday now. And it's, more equitable in America now. So you happy? No, because the justice system doesn't work.
In the midterm election, and that's what they want to see. And we would welcome congressional Republicans to join us on working on behalf of the American people, working on the priorities that they care about, working on lowering costs for American families across the country.
If the Republican-led House goes down this path, they have the numbers, if they wish to do so, to impeach the Attorney General. They don't have the numbers, however, just based upon the makeup of the Senate. Would you say, Karine, that this is a waste of time on the part of congressional Republicans?
What I will say is basically what I just laid out seconds ago, John. It's just this is not the main priority of American families. They want us to come together in a bipartisan way to work on the things that they truly care about. When it comes to the Dobbs decision, right? When it comes to reproductive rights and reproductive health care, when it comes to making sure that we are working and focusing on lowering costs for American people. That's what they want us to see. That's what they want us to come together in a bipartisan way to deliver, to build on the successes that this president has done the last 2 years.
Yeah, I'm sure about that. I'm sure that's exactly what they want. So, okay, so that was Karine Jean-Pierre just talking aimlessly as she tries to explain what the White House is going to do as Republicans continue to investigate Garland's investigation that seems like a very conflicted investigation into his boss's son. And now, my friends, let's see exactly what Jim Jordan is up to. House GOP and Republicans like Jim Jordan now demanding more answers from the Department of Justice, in particular about two U.S. attorneys, David Weiss, the prosecutor who led the Hunter Biden investigation out of Delaware, and another woman named Lesley Wolf, who we heard a lot about as a result of the IRS whistleblower's testimony saying that Lesley was a person who actually undermined major portions of the investigation, the same person who allegedly tipped off Hunter Biden's counsel when the IRS and the FBI was about to inquire into a particular storage unit where they thought had evidence of criminality. So Jim Jordan sent a letter over to David Weiss, the U.S. attorney out of Delaware. We're going to go through that We've also got reaction from Representative Jason Smith, Byron Donalds, and James Comer says he's got a ton more evidence. Millions of dollars in additional wire transfers have been uncovered. And so the Republicans are weighing in on this. They really want to get to the bottom of it. Here was what Jim Jordan said about both of these attorneys, David Weiss and Lesley Wolf, and their involvement in the Hunter and the Biden crime family inquiries.
This case doesn't warrant special counsel status. I don't know what does, but they denied that to him. So you can't have the attorney general saying, "Oh, I've taken a hands-off approach," and then this happened where he was denied. David Weiss was denied special counsel status. So I think when you step back and look at this, first of all, look at the credibility of these whistleblowers. Mr. Shapley, 14 years at the IRS, handled some of the biggest cases they've ever had. Then there's the anonymous whistleblower who had the same kind of background. These guys are credible people who've come forward. Second, you have the Attorney General, what he said. He was going to take a hands-off approach, but obviously he didn't. And then third, you have the facts. You have the Assistant U.S. Attorney, Lesley Wolf, who said that she tipped off Biden's lawyers when they were getting ready to do something. She told Mr. Shapley that he couldn't ask about the big guy, couldn't ask about Joe Biden, and couldn't use the term the big guy, even though they had that email. She limited what they could do in their investigation. I mean, that is just...
And they also wanted to cover up Hunter Biden's name in search warrants, right? So he wouldn't show up on dockets and stuff. And these investigators are going, what? What's happening? And there was this big little tactic that they kept rolling out where they kept delaying the investigation. IRS said, we want to go overt. We were covert. We were hidden in the shadows doing our investigation, but we wanted to go overt. And they said, well, you know, you can't do it for this month. Okay, kick it to next month. Kick it to next month. Kick it to next month. They did that. And then guess what? Oh, man, you're not going to believe it. We're in the 60 to 90 day window where it's DOJ policy that we don't initiate against active candidates. So we can't talk about it until after the election. Then after the election, and so they boot the whole thing till past the election. Then after the election, well, now it's being contested. So now we don't want to bring it here. And now we have the midterms coming up. And now we've got another. So delay. And all done, not at Merrick Garland's level, right? We never thought that Merrick Garland was going to call up David Weiss and say, hey, David, this is Merrick Garland. I'm working here for Joe Biden. He's sitting here right next to me. We've decided that we'd like you to stop pursuing his son with prosecution. Can you do that for us? Okay, memorialize that, please, for us in your case notes. Thanks talking to you. Bye. Never going to happen. It's always going to be this unspoken thing. Just push it, kick it down the road. Not a big deal. Kick it down the road. And that's exactly what happened.
As wrong as it gets. So we want to make sure we get a chance to talk to this Lesley Wolf, the Assistant U.S. Attorney who was handling this case in Mr. Weiss's office there in Delaware. We think that's important as we move forward with this investigation.
So you will subpoena Lesley Wolf then?
We're going to look at all options on the table. We want to talk to her. There's typically a process you go through before you'd ever get to a subpoena. But if that's what it takes, we think it's important to talk to her.
Yeah, it takes like I think like 100 to 200 letters before you get to a subpoena. I could be wrong on those numbers. It might be 1,000.
When she is doing those kind of things, she denied a search warrant. They had it approved, and then she said, no, we're not going to do it. A search warrant for the storage unit where Hunter Biden stored things. This is what Mr. Shapley and the agents on the case wanted to do. They were denied access to that. So when you're denying search warrants, when you're saying you can't ask about Joe Biden, can't use the term the big guy, and ask about that email, and tipping off the Justice Department is tipping off Hunter Biden's lawyers before you do something. I mean, think of the difference. Trump's lawyers weren't tipped off when they decided to raid his home, for goodness sake, even though they'd been working with President Trump all along.
Right. Not at all.
This is this preferential treatment that the whistleblowers are talking about that's not supposed to happen in our system of justice.
Well, we're looking at all of this, and we've got Peter Schweitzer and Miranda Devine coming up, as well as some of your colleagues on the Oversight Committee, Byron Donalds and Nancy Mays. But Peter Schweitzer said the dam is breaking on this Biden influence peddling story.
Certainly feels
we don't know
like
if he's
that.
taken in $10 million, $30 million, $100 million from all of these.
Yeah, and you start to see what we saw previously where people start naming names. Now you just follow the pattern. Like one person, Gary Shapley, named 5 other people in the room with him. Guess what? Perfect. We start sending letters out to those 5 people. What do they know? Now they're all involved in this. And we have a couple whistleblowers who came voluntarily, but now other people might be compelled to testify. So the facade, and these people were on the Hunter investigation. Like, this is the team of people that you want. It's not some U.S. attorney who's like, yeah, I was working outside the room and I heard the lawyers say something. No, These are people who were literally assigned to this investigation, who were saying it was corrupt as hell. And now we've got a list of names, and Congress is saying, yeah, we're going to send them some letters, and if they don't comply, maybe we'll send them a subpoena. Here is what Jim Jordan sent over to one person in particular, David Weiss, the man, the Trump-appointed attorney who was investigating Hunter. Says the following: Dear Mr. Weiss, and as we can see, this one came out from your friend Jim Jordan, chairman of the Judiciary Committee. He says, hey, David, you know, a couple months ago on May 25th, the committee wrote to Attorney General Garland asking for documents about removing an IRS supervisory agent and whistleblower and removing his entire team from a sensitive investigation, which we think is a retaliation for whistleblowing. The committee received your reply letter from David Weiss on June 7th that responded to Attorney Generals on Attorney General Garland's behalf and declined to provide any substantive information, footnote 2. So he did respond in June. He says, because your stated reason for refusing to cooperate with Congress and our committee's request is unpersuasive, David, we write to reiterate our request for material about the department's retaliation against this whistleblower. And this is the same pattern that we see. You get a couple letters, and then they don't respond to the letters, or they're non-responsive. Then you give them a subpoena threat, and then after the subpoena threat, you issue a subpoena. From your response, David, 2 critical points stand out, says Jordan. First, you did not dispute that the department retaliated against the whistleblower and his team. You didn't dispute that in your response, so guess we're thinking that you agree with us. And second, your stated reasons for refusing to comply with the committee's requests have no relation to the subject of this oversight: whistleblower retaliation. All right, so I don't know what reasons he put in his letter, but he says, contrary to the central objection set forth in your letter, this matter does not involve the protection of confidential law enforcement information or deliberative communications about an ongoing criminal investigation. Okay, so David Weiss just copy and pasted from, whatever document somebody else was working on. And they said, oh no, it's confidential law enforcement. Oh no, it's an ongoing criminal investigation. Oh no, sources and methods. That's the only thing we didn't see in here. Rather, it focuses solely on the department's retaliation. Jordan is saying, we're not asking about those. We're just asking about retaliation. Don't tell us anything about what the whistleblower said. We just want to know why he was removed. That's all. Rather, it focuses solely on the retaliation, which you seem to concede, against a whistleblower in violation of U.S. law, which you acknowledge protects whistleblowers. And so the committee in Congress has articulated an interest in obtaining material concerning a non-prosecutorial matter. It's not criminal. We're not prosecuting anything. Namely, material referring to the retaliation of the IRS. The requests don't seek any information about an open criminal investigation, so don't give us any of that. The committee only seeks information on the specific retaliation that we're working on legislation for. In fact, your letter acknowledged the committee's legislative purpose, so you even admit that we can inquire about this. So therefore, it's hard to understand how materials that we're asking for are not applicable, that you're not going to give it to us. Providing these documents would not compromise the independence of your investigation. It's only about the removal. We're not even asking about the investigation. We're just asking about the literal movement of an agent from one position to another after the whistle was blown. Here, the committee is not interested in whether you're going to prosecute or not. We don't care about any of that. We only care about whistleblower protection laws. I love this. It's very clever. The department has no legitimate basis to refuse the cooperation of oversight. So basically they're saying none of your sources and methods, none of your ongoing investigation, none of that matters. We don't care about any of that. Do whatever you want, be corrupt as hell. We only care about the removal of the whistleblower. So the committee is now empowered by the House of Representatives to conduct oversight, including oversight over the DOJ. And the Supreme Court has made clear that Congress has broad and indispensable power to do this. Now they say, finally, the committee and our letter on May 25th was sent to Merrick Garland, not just to Delaware. We reiterate these requests to Garland. Here's what we want: a list of all individuals who drafted and assisted you in writing your June 7th response back to us. So who wrote that for you, David? I mentioned he copied and pasted it from somewhere. I want to know who wrote it. Who instructed you to sign and send your letter to the committee? Why'd you send that to us? Did Garland tell you to sign that? Did Lisa Monaco tell you to sign that? When you first learned or were made aware, tell us when you first learned about our first letter, who at the DOJ gave you this letter, and whether you had any interactions with Garland after the letters came in. Please let us know no later than July 6. Thanks for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, your friend, Jim Jordan, Chairman of the Judiciary Committee. So, we've got some activity. Now going over to David Weiss, we know that Lesley Wolf might be next up on queue, but other congresspeople are on this case. Here is Representative Smith, who heads up the House Ways and Means Committee, explaining the double standards and corruption.
They also provided information showing that Department of Justice prosecutors, in fact, let Hunter Biden's attorneys know of search warrants being issued. For example, they had a search warrant where they were going to go after a storage unit he had in Northern Virginia, and they had contacted Hunter Biden's attorneys beforehand. That is absolutely unreasonable and something that typically doesn't happen.
That is Mr. Representative Jason Smith saying that, yes, Hunter was tipped off. That doesn't happen. It's insane that it would happen. And the fact that the DOJ hasn't conducted their own investigation into that is basically nuts. That person should be, unless they had approval on that, unless that's new policy, that you just notify your defendants that you've got an impending search warrant coming their direction. Never heard of that one before. Byron Donalds is also explaining a new concept. If Trump can be hammered for obstruction, what about Joe Biden? What about U.S. Department of Justice that is obstructing an investigation into the president's son? Officially. Does that rise to criminality? Byron says it should.
Well, now we're in the process of, we're going to get bank records, continue to go down that path. I believe that when you can connect those dots on money flows, which we've already seen with Hunter Biden, Jim Biden, any other members of the Biden family, once you have all that in your possession, there are the grounds. The last piece is this obstruction that has gone on with the White House and the Department of Justice. Because if those are high crimes and misdemeanors, I think we actually have a two-tier track for impeachment with Merrick Garland and with Joe Biden.
Well, yeah, baby. High crimes and misdemeanors. To obstruct the investigation into your son through your Attorney General, Merrick Garland, through David Weiss, through Lisa Monaco, through Lesley Wolf. Also, the Biden crime family could inherit millions of dollars from their foreign quid pro quo deals. James Comer tells us that there is more, millions more, coming down soon.
Well, he just stood up and lied to the American people. Merrick Garland has destroyed the reputation of the Justice Cabinet. He has destroyed the reputation of justice in America. He needs to go. There's no way he can defend the indefensible by saying that he's treated Democrats in the same manner that he's treated Republicans, specifically the way he treated the President of the United States' son. What you saw with the IRS whistleblower this week, every company that they mentioned in their deposition was a company that we had already brought out as a shell company by the Bidens. The IRS knew about this. They knew about it because the federal government had records of it in the Treasury cabinet of their money laundering and tax evasion, yet they do absolutely nothing to Hunter Biden for any of that. They give him a slap on the wrist for failure to pay millions of dollars in taxes that happened 6 years ago.
Sir, he was upset. He was upset that we would even think that there would be impropriety.
Yeah, he was pounding the
in the way he administers justice. I don't know. If I'm him, maybe I don't go to a state dinner last night.
Which I don't have any confidence in the U.S. Attorney in Delaware. I don't have any confidence in Merrick Garland. I don't have any confidence in Christopher Wray. But when they say the investigation's ongoing, right at moments after Hunter Biden's attorney said the investigation's over, all the Department of Justice is doing is blocking the House Oversight Committee from getting that FE 1023 that shows that the Bidens were involved in a bribery scheme, that blocks us from getting the Treasury suspicious activity reports that showed that the Bidens were involved in money laundering and racketeering. They are doing everything in their ability to obstruct the one credible entity in the United States that's actually investigating the Bidens, and that's the House Oversight Committee.
So is it, if it
think are going to show more wires from more countries? Remember, we've just disclosed 2 countries thus far. We've disclosed China and Romania. There are still some more Chinese wires that we have yet to present to the American people, and there are a lot of wires, mysterious wires from Ukraine and Russia that we're about to expose. So this is just beginning for the Bidens. All the Department of Justice is doing is standing in our way. But even with all the obstacles that Merrick Garland has thrown in front of the House Oversight Committee, all the obstacles that the Treasury Cabinet has thrown and the FBI has thrown, with all the negative media coverage from the mainstream media, we are still producing results every day that shows this family, the President of the United States family, has received millions and millions of dollars from our adversaries all over the world, and they can't explain why. They can't explain what they did to produce that money.
They are breaking through. I think the Republicans will, if they stay at this thing. You know, it might be perfect timing. It might crest right when you need it to, right at the next election-ish, you know, summer of next year. A lot of the stuff will really have a lot of momentum behind it. And that might cause the Democrats to want to change course, change candidates. I don't know. But the good news is Republicans seem like they're fired up about it. We've got some small victories that we can savor here. We've got the censure of Adam Schiff. We've got the very close subpoena that actually went out to the FBI. We've got some threats that Merrick Garland might be investigated for impeachment. And so the GOP marches on. And my friends, we will continue to cover. Thank you for joining us as we do. And so, my friends, that is it for us on the day. We covered a lot of good ground, and I want to thank all of the amazing people who are joining us today. We've got a big show today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you're not already subscribed here, we would love it if you subscribe. We go live every day, same time right here. We'd love to see you. We go through this every day and hit the topics. We covered a lot today. McCarthy promising that Garland might be impeached. We'll see. The Biden administration got grilled over the whistleblower and some of the bad perceptions. We had a good update on Donald Trump and the special counsel being denied their request to have Trump handcuffed with witness lists. And of course, Trump read some of the comments or the text from Hunter Biden out and loud and proud out on the campaign trail. And we're going to hear a lot more of that as it unfolds. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. I want to thank you for being a part of the show. And thank you for subscribing. Really, thank you for sticking around and joining us on the next one. We are going to say hello to you and see what your thoughts are about all of this and more. We've got our amazing friends at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. If you want puppies, remember Marianne at ericshouse.org. Send her an email. She'll be able to talk to you about it. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And our YouTube members, you can join YouTube. We're going to go over to the after party. So if you're a YouTube member, don't forget to join us on our private Telegram group after the show. But now, let's see what you have to say about this. And I want to thank Donut Mind Me for clipping away for us. Thank you, Donut. And Little Onion became a supporter on YouTube, which is awesome. So YouTube supporters, grab the Telegram link so you can join us for our after party. We've also got Fred Pedamonte. He says, Rob, Johnny said the following. Johnny, you can see here, is this little rascal right here up in this corner, this little puppy here. Johnny said, you're taking a video of me and Rob. Better show me on this show, on his show. He says, I don't want to get hurt. So expect a video of Johnny soon. He's peed off. All right, well, that's going to be good. So Fred Pedamonte is going to have a video of Johnny soon, which is going to be great. I mean, Johnny's probably feeling a little bit left out, right? Because we had the puppies. I mean, Johnny's like, wait a minute. So Mama Govea has all of these puppies, as you can see. And so they're looking for new homes. There's 5 puppies left looking for new homes. And they are just a lot of fun. Marianne at ericshouse.org for that. And so Johnny's just like, hey, where's my video? So I appreciate that. I understand that. We'll keep our eyes out on that for that one, Fred and Johnny. Good to see you guys. Pure Life. Hey, thank you, Pure Life. No comment, no question on that. Just a very nice dono. And I do appreciate that, Pure Life. Thank you for being here. Thanks for sending that in today. And I think that's Jesus. Praise Jesus. We have this from Jigum. Says, would it be illegal for Trump to have made copies of the documents while they were in his possession? Yeah, I think that it would have covered that. Remember when we read the statute? It was like, there's like a whole paragraph in there about like everything, you know, copying, sniffing, looking at it, possessing it, holding it, maintaining it, carrying it, looking at it the wrong way, sitting on it, and sleeping on it are all illegal. You know, is that big paragraph. So basically anything, licking it, says Bonnie, anything with it, you know, shifting it, Adam shifting it, whatever he does to his documents, you know, all of it illegal. But great question from Jigum. The one thing he should have done, I guess, is destroyed it with a cloth or smashed it with a hammer. I think that's really the only thing that would have made him okay. Everything else would have been illegal, but if you actually destroy it, you're immune. I think that's the Hillary Clinton standard. So it's a good question. This one came in from Dennis. Says golden doodles go straight to the hips. They're so sweet. Yeah, and I always forget the name of the breed, golden doodles. Yeah, that's it. They're just, that's it, right? That's it. Because there's like so many different permutations of it. And the thing that gets me with those words, I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but words that have a lot of the same letters in them, like golden doodles, like then I think of poodle, then I think of golden poodle doodles, and then doodle poodles and golden doodle poodles. And it's like very confusing for me. So I have a hard time with words like that. Anyways, hopefully that makes sense. But they are available, marianne@ericshouse.org. Woods Precision Arms is in the house and says, Roberto, as usual, you kicked wholesale A. Answer me this. Thank you, Woods Precision. Thank you for the generous dono, and thanks for the amazing chat here today. Says over 1,200 affidavits signed by people who witnessed 2020 election problems. If they were lying, why hasn't the FBI gone after them for perjury, daring to not agree with 2020? Yeah, so I guess that's a good question. I guess it would depend on what those affidavits were, where they were filed, and what they were used in. Okay, so like, for example, if you just drafted a petition and you said, we've got 1,200 affidavits of all of these different people and they allege the following, that's free speech, man. You know, that's all, you're allowed to have opinions and positions and all of that. If you do something with it, like if you, well, first of all, I don't think it's perjury, right? They would have to be proven to have been lying. But, you know, in order to be charged with a crime, like perjury is a crime. You can say, like, for example, we covered the Kari Lake trial here at length. We saw a lot of witnesses like the great Richard Barris come in and testify at the Kari Lake trial. And he said what he thought was true. Now, Kari Lake ultimately lost those trials. And so he would not be charged for perjury, for lying on the stand, because it was his opinion, it was an honest statement. And so, you know, same type of thing would happen with the affidavit. Now, if you go, let's say you go into court and then you are actively lying on the stand, or an FBI agent comes to you and you actively lie, like you know something is false, or they catch you in a process crime or a perjury trap or something like that, that would be a separate story. So right now, you know, the 1,200 affidavits, like if they were fraudulent affidavits, maybe the FBI could go and investigate them. But I think it's just free speech. I think what you're asking about is like if they would have filed it in a lawsuit and then the lawsuit, like don't get me wrong, the FBI might very well be investigating these people because they think they're insurrectionists or something, right? And Jack Smith said that he was offering immunity deals to the people who signed the alternative slates of electors. And like that activity of submitting a document, like that could be theoretically a crime. Like if you say, no, I'm actually a legitimate alternative elector, and somebody says, no, you're not, and you submit it as though you are, they might say that that is fraudulent, as though you're trying to pass off a bad check or something. Now, the defense would be that, you know, that's not a federal issue. Those are state level issues, and the state should sort that out. So the Fed shouldn't be prosecuting you for a false slate of electors or for signing an alternative document. But that has not stopped the Feds before, right? We've got Derek Chauvin got prosecuted at state levels, then federal levels, and we see that in other cases as well. So the affidavit alone wouldn't be problematic, but doing something with the affidavit might be problematic. Either way, those people are all probably on lists, as are you and me. So It's good to be on the same list together. Thank you, Woods, for that one. Fred Pedamonte says, you scared the poop out of Johnny when you yelled. Well, hopefully you guys were outside when that happened. Projectile poop exits, courtesy of this show. We try to serve, you know. We try to serve you. If your dog is having defecation problems, just have them listen here. Sometimes they'll get the crap scared out of them too, like the rest of us. All right. Zulu's here. Says, been a member for 16 months, Zulu. Woo! Man, that's a long time. That's really serious. That's a real serious commitment and relationship we're involved in right now. Glad you've been here, Zulu. You're a good addition to our community. We appreciate you being here. He says, get your membership perks. Get your membership perks, man. We're working hard. We've got a whole new website coming, and I've got some other ideas for more membership stuff. It's going to be fun. Yeah, Zulu's, you know, he's on the other side of the political spectrum, you know, on a lot of issues, not all the issues, but we love Zulu. Good to have you here, Zulu. Thanks for being here, man, for 16 months. We've been through a lot of it. I appreciate you. This one came in. Hey, speaking of Zulu, gifted 5 new membos. We like our lefty friends here too. This is a very accepting show, you know, and I don't think Zulu is as lefty as he thinks he is, or as sometimes he pretends to be. I don't buy the whole thing all the time. I don't think he's that. I think he's just kind of sometimes, he likes to needle us a little bit. You know, he likes to just kind of give you the old jabs, which we appreciate. So, and we appreciate Zulu and his generosity. Yeah, and honestly, he's been here for 16 months. I mean, come on. Like, doesn't that say a lot? Like 16 months, you know, that's a lot, you know. I think he's kind of just jabbing us sometimes. We love you, Zulu. He's in the house, and so he's here. Little old me coming in, courtesy of Zulu. Dustin's in the house, courtesy of Zulu. John Carroll's here. Simple Pleasures and Navy Styles, all in the house, courtesy of Zulu. Thank you, Zulu, for being here, man, for 16 months. Super cool. And many more to come, I hope. We've got Rocky Water says, Rob, just showing us that doc about the 6 witnesses. I hadn't seen that yet. Priceless, but I'll try with a tip. Thanks as always. Oh, you'll try to pay for it with the tip. Thanks. Thanks, Rocky. Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah, he's naming names, man. He's actually naming names in there, which is a lot of fun. And so priceless. Thank you, Rocky Water, for sending that one in. Andy Hansis says KJP is sounding like a First Amendment auditor. I don't answer questions. I don't answer those questions. Am I free to leave? She should answer. That's what she should say next. That's what Karine should say. I don't answer questions. Am I being detained? Oh, am I free to leave? Okay, good. Well, then I'm going to leave. You know, this is the White House press briefing room, Karine. We're here for you, lady. You know, anyways, it's a complicated position. Woods Precision Arms says, maybe Trump's lawyers push this trial as fast as possible in the hopes the people who need clearances aren't able to get one, and it should then be thrown out because if you can't see the evidence, no trial. It's a good point. It's a good comment. So this is actually a tactic in criminal law, right? One tactic, especially in DUI cases, is to set the trial immediately. Like, when's the next trial date? Oh, like 2 weeks? Perfect. Set a trial. You know, what? The government's like, no, we need time to test the blood. Our officer is busy. He's on training. We got 4 officers. We need to get here. Where are they? You know, nope, we want our trial tomorrow. Now, what happens is the government says, we can't have it tomorrow. You know, we've got to prepare our case. We've got due process rights and we've got extenuating circumstances and our cops can't do this. And so they weigh the pros and, you know, the benefits of a speedy trial versus the exceptional circumstances. And they see which side is prejudiced. And then the judge makes a decision on that. So it's not, you know, it's not a cut and dry position, but certainly, you know, there could be other benefits to doing this trial soon. Trump might, you know, I mean, gosh, he'll get a ton of attention for it. And if Trump gets convicted, think about like the trial think about the electoral momentum that criminal conviction of Donald Trump would bring into this. Can you imagine? If he go in a trial, it'd be the most televised. It's not going to be televised because it's federal court, but it would be the most covered thing for weeks. And it would be crazy if he got convicted, because then we would have a convicted felon running for president. And could you imagine what that would do? So maybe it does happen before. I really think, though, it's not going to happen before, just because I think judges will be really skittish about it. So even if you push this like to middle of next year, right? Even early next year or December later this year, at some point there's a fail-safe. I think it's got to be, primaries, and then I don't know. I have a hard time believing the trial happens before the election, but I could be wrong about that. Music Micro Gaming Mix in the house with a nice tip. Thank you, Music Micro Gaming Mix, with another one. Music Micro Gaming Mix. Indoctrination says my automatic response is to be guarded of any statements from the government. Very good default position. Guarded of any statements from the government. Be very cautious about any statements that go to the government. I don't think that they have our best interests in mind as a general rule. There are individuals who care about people and care about citizens, but institutions and bureaucracies, once they get so big and bloated, they just can't really care. And that's why I get so irritated with people who continually rely or believe the promises of the government. They're not coming to fix anything. They're not coming to save any of us. Everything they touch turns to crap, and it's just continuing on. So thank you for that one from Indoctrination over on Locals. Music Micro Gaming Mix with another one. Thank you. And another one. Music Micro Game and another one. One at a time. $1. Every single one at a time. Thank you for all of them coming in from Music Micro Gaming Mix in the house. Ray K says, thank you, Rob. Thank you, mods. You're all doing a great job. Ignore the trolls, and there are many of us here in Canada trying to fight against corruption and a return to land glorious and free in Canada. Yeah, man, I think a lot about our Canadian friends up there and that little dictator Trudeau and what he is doing to your country. I've had conversations about this. I met an amazing Canadian who is extremely successful, who I watched, well, we'll leave that alone, who's an amazing dude who's leaving Canada. He's like, I just can't do it anymore. It's not the country that I grew up in. It's a sad state of affair. And he's actually moving, not even to America, moving out of the North America, basically. So it's a sad state of affairs, Ray K. I appreciate you being here. Shout out to the mods. We have the best mods, and Donut Mind Me and everybody helps clip away. We're grateful for all of them. Amazing. And we do, the trolls are all right. We're okay with the trolls. The trolls, we love the trolls too. Trolls, enjoy the show. Hopefully they learn something. Welcome aboard. Learn something. Invite a friend so that they can learn something too. We'll see you next time. All right. And Michael Allen Hughes is in the house. Thank you, Michael Allen, another member. Michael, we see you always in our member-only morning streams. It's good to see you, Michael. Bonnie says, Johnny needs a brother or sister. That's a great idea, Bonnie. Johnny, yeah. Send my mom an email, marianne@ericshouse.org. I think so, Johnny. That would be great. Trust2 Kid says, thanks, Rob, for another great show. Those puppies are cute. They are cute. I know. They're very cute. And they're very, very, very cute. Very soft and just, you kind of want to take them all. But get those puppies. Thank you, Trust2 Kids. Kevlar says, as always, Rob, great show. Thank you. Thank you, Kevlar. Real news, not fake. Well, we try to show you the documents. We try to show you what's actually happening, show you the docket, take a look at the filings, take a look at the letters. Because what ends up happening, just so we're all clear, okay, a lot of the news articles that you read, it comes from the same stuff. They read the filings, they read the letters, and then they just manipulate them. And they copy and paste them, and they just reframe them in a way that serves their narrative, and then you don't actually see the documents. So although there is commentary and perspective here, we also like to show the documents, and maybe you read what I'm reading and you have a different take. But at least it's a little bit more accessible. And so thanks, Kevlar, for being here. Curtis Bartle in the house. Thank you, Curtis. Brought in 5 new membos. 3D Slug is here, which is cool. 3D Slug. 24/7 Live AZ Skies, Nick Dev, and Keister Bunny all coming in, courtesy of Curtis Bartle. The Rubos are in the house, and the Rubos have amazing salt at rubossaltshop.com if you haven't checked those out. I've got some, and it's delicious. And so they shared this one. Let me see if I can grab this one. Oh, yes. I saw this clip, and I am irritated myself that I did not include this clip into our show today. I'm irritated with myself. This is a great clip. So Biden was here today. This came out from RNC Research, actually. He said this. He said, I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things. So my question on this courtesy of our friends the Rubos, is, are we going to enter a stage of dementia and decline where he starts openly admitting his crimes now? Okay, openly admitting his crimes. He just starts telling us what he's done. Are we there?
I was just thinking, anyway, I started off without you. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared. What? I was just thinking, anyway.
You guys hear that?
Started off without you. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared. I was just thinking, anyway.
Anyway, he's
I
gone.
started off without you.
Gone.
And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared. I was just thinking.
All right, so, you know, that is, that's Tim Apple right there. And that is Sundar Google over there. And Joe Biden is just talking about selling our state secrets, which we all think that he actually literally did. We actually think that he did that, and now he's openly admitting that he did that. All right. So this one came in, says donating to Rob's puppy fund. Don't know if he has one, but you can never have enough puppies. Yeah, thank you, Alexandra. I'll give that to Mama Govea. They could use it for their puppy fund. You know how much poop and pee there is over there? A lot. A lot. But it's worth it. They're cute. Thank you, Alexandra. Hey, here's one that came in from John McGarvey. Whose puppy is this? All right, we're going to get into some puppy talk over on Locals after the show, no doubt about it. We'll see whose puppy that belongs to. Third proverb says, who does the president ask about declassifying documents? It's a great question. Apparently, Deborah Steidel-Wald from NARA. She's more powerful than he is. He has to go to her office over there at the National Archives. And he says, excuse me, Deb, can I please have some classified documents? I'm only the president. And she says, no, get out of my office. And Trump says, okay. And then she sends the FBI to raid him. All right. Because it is insane. That's not how it actually works, theoretically. Now, according to this administration, it does. But my concept or my thesis is that the president is the root power of the executive branch. The documents that were generated by the executive branch when he was the president belong to him. And Congress, by statute, which is not an amendment, which is the Presidential Records Act, they're dipping their toe into the executive branch's business. It would be the same problem if an executive branch passed a Congressional Records Act via executive order and said, we're going to manage how the legislative branch conducts their business. That would be nuts. It's a separation of powers argument. So, and the Presidential Records Act is not an amendment. It's just a statute. So that can't usurp the presidential root power, which exists over declassifying documents and over all of the documents in his administration. And that is a new novel issue of law that I have not seen ever litigated here. And neither has Bill Barr or Andrew Weissman or anybody else who claims to have know exactly what is going to happen here. That's from Third Proverb. Thank you, Third. Francis Smart is a supporter. Francis, thank you for joining us as a supporter. And I hope you join us on our member-only streams, and I hope you grab our Telegram link, which is in the community tab section on YouTube, and join us for our after party. A very smart decision, Francis. Thanks for joining us. This one is from KXFMX. Says, doesn't the term no standing that is being used in federal courts to deny election fraud hearings work in both directions? Yeah. Yes. So I guess if the question is, if if Trump wins and they want to sue, they would have to also cross the standing threshold. So if they come in to bring, election claims, they would have the same standing issues. I think is how I'm understanding your question. Stick around, KX. We'll come back to that in the after party. Red One says, if they don't imprison Trump, they're going to take him out. I hope not. Trump becoming the president through voting is very unlikely, to be honest, says Red One. I don't know. I know people are tired of the elections and all of the election nonsense, but I think that there's going to be a lot more eyeballs this time, and there's going to be a lot more evidence that people are not, or, people are going to be looking for these problems. And yeah, we'll see. So I think we got to vote in record numbers. We got to bring people to vote. It's me plus 3. It's me plus 3 is the vote. Me and 3 other people. Drag them to the polls and vote. This one came in from Sharub Cow. Sharub Cow says, regarding Jim Jordan's subpoena of Garland and WFA in May, there has not been a follow-up from him. How quickly must, I think you're saying Garm, respond? Could they have responded to Jordan privately, awaited a scheduled hearing? Gosh, I'm having a trouble with these acronyms. Garm. Who am I missing? Garland? Is that Garland? So I don't think that there's a standard timeline or a procedure. There's just the mechanics of it. And the way we've seen it go down is it's a letter, maybe 2 letters, sometimes 3 letters. Then it's a subpoena threat. Then it's the actual subpoena. So, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 5. And really, those are kind of 2 weeks, 3 weeks apart. So maybe a 6-week or a 2-month timeline before the subpoenas start going out. And I only pulled that from the FD 1023 form, which was the material that we got, which was really the only subpoena that the Oversight Committee has sent and then followed up on. Thank you, Sharub. Hey, we've got Twitter to take a look at, see what's going on over on Twitter. Before we get there, What About Me says, did you see those fake patriots getting their butts kicked from What About Me? A member for 3 months. Whew, What About Me? Thank you for being a member for 3 months. Yeah, and I did see that. There was those patriots, so-called, who showed up to the event, and then they pulled their masks off, and then they ran away. No, my face, no. Yeah, very curious who those people are. Don't know exactly what the details are on that. But yeah, show your faces if you're so confident in your positions, right? They didn't want to do that, so they left. All right, let's say hello to Twitter. How many people are watching? 9! Oh my goodness! We got 9 viewers on Twitter. Things are getting pretty serious here. Yeah, we've got Danny McWilliams says, funny thing is you're telling us how they're screwing Trump and the people you're talking about in the same line of work as you. Why are there no standards for lawyers? That's a good observation. Yeah, so judge me accordingly. However you'd like to judge me, that's perfectly fine. There are standards. I mean, we have ethical legal standards. We have state bars. We swear an oath. I went down to the Arizona Supreme Court, stood there, I swear, and all the things. And then we have bar, we have disciplinary rules and all this stuff. So there are standards, but there are standards for a lot of things. There's still crappy lawyers and crappy everybody. I don't know. I don't know that the standards really matter. It's about the person and the integrity that the person has. So judge accordingly. Charles is here, says, trying to get the Twitter viewership up. Thanks, Charles. Thanks for being here. And Raven said this one. Is this real life? Yeah, it's real life. It is real life. Joe Biden's talking about selling state secrets. TJ King says, missed this video too, saying that Joe Biden admits that China owns us.
I do know a lot about foreign policy.
Now, I don't know
as
what
much as anybody in this room, including if you're Henry Kissinger, who I love. Folks, we have mortgaged our foreign policy. Everyone's out there going, oh my God, how in God's name, the Chinese came here and the president didn't get anything. Guess what? They own us.
Oh man, he was doing the whisper thing.
I do know a lot about.
He was doing the whisper thing even back then, huh? Yeah, I think the Chinese do own a lot of our politicians and a big portion of our infrastructure, which is a problem. Yeah, Wagner Group bilked the deep state out of gas money for a trip to Belarus, says another on Twitter. And so that, my friends, is it from our friends on Twitter. And we're grateful for everybody who follows us over there at Rob Govea, ESQ. I see Indoctrination says, demask all the feds, even the ones from the J6, especially the ones from J6. We'd like to see all of those individuals demasked, certainly. And so, all right, my friends, that is it. Thank you to everybody who sent in those very generous, very nice super chats in on this lovely, lovely Monday. And thanks for everybody who has not already subscribed for subscribing. We'll be back to do it all again tomorrow. But we are going to go over to our after party for a little bit of a debrief at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And if you're a member, join us tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, we're going to come back. We're going to have a Trump docket updates. Congress, I think, is out all week, so we won't see much from them. But we have other headlines to attend to. watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And don't forget, if you want those puppies, send an email to my mama, marianne@ericshouse.org. Also, you can be healthy and fortified and nutrified courtesy of our friends over on fieldofgreens.com, where you can save 15% with code Robert at checkout. If you like the mind map, you can check out the mind map at spotlightlawyer.com or get the mind map software at spotlightlawyer.com/mindmap, where there is a ton of uses for this software that is great. Also want to thank the mods and the meme smiths who mod down the fort for us. Starting at the bottom today, we've got Donut Mind Me, our friend Dog Digger, Janek 909, John Allen's in the house, Zach Nichols, Beyond Geostars, our friend Zulu, Ronnie Cole, Playin' Hooky, Just Cause, K Bean, and Vienti Kiss Prime, all modding down the fort for us, along with our meme smiths, Nathan N810, Geegum Geegum, and our friend Paul, Sleepy Dog Lee, over on Twitter. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. Thank you once again for subscribing and inviting somebody to join us. We go live every day for now at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 3 p.m. Pacific, Arizona time. And we'd love it if you joined us, because tomorrow we will be back here to do it all again, and there will be a lot to attend to, as per usual. But that is it for us on the day, my friends. I hope you have yourselves a beautiful, beautiful, very restful sleep, and we see you right back here tomorrow, so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a great night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.